Here's a tune you haven't heard in a while. Hey gang, before we continue our flight into 1980s fantasy, we're gonna knock down a couple of Patreon requests for the next couple of weeks. 2 or 3 at most. And first up at bat, this one comes from Sam Fleming. His ongoing patronage, he was able to get a flick of his choice covered right here on the show, and season onwards. I would not only like to thank him, but also for the pick he had. For the times I've been doing this show, I've never considered to do one from Troma Entertainment. So, this is actually kind of a first for the show. And given how much he has been with me, and given how much he's been pledging to the show, it is an honor and a personal thanks to finally get something of his own choice covered right here on the program. Spared no expense. If you just want to be like Sam and have a film of your choice covered right here on Vaulting, go over to my Patreon page, make a donation, and I'll try to see if I can squeeze it in at some point, either this or next season onwards. Schedule's a little cramped, but I'll do what I can. But regardless, as mentioned, today we're going to take a break from 1980s fantasy and look at a different kind that's a bit more interesting of the decade. The low-budget B-movie fare. No, don't panic. It's not Charles Band again. Yet. No, today we're taking a page out of the book of Lloyd Kaufman for this one. I trust there are no objections. After all, he did give James Gunn a career. Kaufman is no stranger to combining shock value with over-exaggerated comedy when it comes to Troma Entertainment, a small independent studio that got mainstream success after the Toxic Avenger, a tongue-in-cheek superhero movie that was overly violent but maintained a good sense of humor, even if dark. They were known for making some of the most twisted pieces of horror comedy with elements of satire and splatter gore. Now, many of the titles in the Troma Entertainment library became pure household classics. Need I say more? But this one in particular never really caught on that well. Nor do I think it's that well known by today's standards. Monster in the Closet is a combination of two things. A send-off to the horror movies of the 1950s, and that basic idea of the thing we all feared of as kids. The concept of there being a creature lurking in our closet. A simple idea, and in the right hands, it could make a unique movie. It arguably has, but here's the zanier take, before we knew how to provide a more serious version. Now, I tried to see if there were any behind-the-scenes stuff in this movie, but came up pretty scarce. I even dug deep into the back issues of Cinefantastic to see if there's any mention of this thing. So, we're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way and look at the movie front and center. And, look a little at the cast and crew, because when you see who's making this movie and in front of the camera, it's kind of interesting to see there's no behind-the-scenes trivia at all in this thing. Little to none. Directing and writing credit goes to Bob Dolan, and it's interesting given this was his only directing credit. Afterwards, he would be second unit or assistant director on... No! better? It's ironic as Peter L. Burquest is credited as co-writer on this movie, and he worked as an assistant director on better movies like The Frisco Kid, Superman the Movie, Herbie Goes Bananas, and Dreamer. 3 out of 4 is not a bad score. Come to think of it, the fact this movie was written by someone who worked on Popeye is interesting, given Monster in the Closet was also edited by another alumni of that Robert Alton movie. Look, Raja Gosnell! He would later edit classics like Home Alone and Mrs. Doubtfire. But he would later direct classics like... let's just stick with Never Been Kissed as the crown jewel in his filmography, and actually review this flick before any more random Popeye trivia flies on my wazoo. I do like the opening where it shows a bunch of random people getting attacked by an unseen force from the closet. It's a little repetitive and goes on for a touch too long, but there are some good gags here, like how cartoonish the deaths are. It perfectly sets up the over-exaggerated tone, even right down to the subtitles looking unneedlessly serious. The only thing that sticks out is a cameo by John Carradine as a blind man that is one of the victims. The performance is fine, but I'm torn on the character. The gag is that he's seeking his dog for help, but most of the time he tries to punish him with his cane.
Bring old Joe his slippers! Now where do you suppose that old dog could be? I don't suppose he could be.
Truly says a lot when you first start off as one of Cecil B. DeMille's stock actors to playing Dracula in a couple of Universal's Monsters flicks, taking part in some westerns, a little Shakespeare, and then you find yourself in a little B-movie cameoing as a blind man who seeks to beat up his service dog with a cane.
Thank damn it, that dog will be the death of me.
Hey boys, we got a closet case here.
Donald Grant, in probably his only lead role, plays a reporter named Richard Clark who is tired of writing obituaries and wants to create a solid story. A bully writer named Scoop sets him up with a 3-week-old story on the closet murders, not knowing it's a prank.
You can have my next assignment.
No, Scoop, come on. I can't
Big murder case up in Chestnut Hill. This could be the hottest story in the country, and no other major papers picked up on it yet. It's all yours, Dick.
Okay, kid. Run with it.
That story's 3 weeks old.
What an asshole.
I feel bad Grant didn't move on to anything else because he's surprisingly charming here. Every classic B-movie needs that one lead the audience can connect with, and he works. I do like how later he goes from being the newspaper patsy to the generic yet strong-willed hero we expect to see him turn into.
Look, I'm sorry about this afternoon, but I've got to talk to you. It's about the murders.
Who are you?
I'm from the San Francisco Daily Globe. Richard Clark.
Both the writing and the performance save this from feeling generic and forgettable, especially when things get intense, yet in a zany way. The rest of the cast is made up of well-known television actors and veterans of B-movie productions. The love interest, Professor Diane Bennett, is played by Denise Dewberry, who was Nurse Lieutenant Samantha Green on Black Sheep Squadron, and had a part on being there. Much like with the Clark character, I dig how as stereotypical her role is for a B-movie being someone who falls for the lead, there is build-up to it. It's not just love at first sight, and the two play off each other very well.
Sheriff Ketchum told me about a theory that you have about a snake this weekend.
That's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. Do I look like a complete imbecile? If the sheriff had bothered to listen, he would know that I was only trying to tell him that the marks found on the bodies had the same characteristics as a snake bite. I don't know what it means. I'm not a detective, but I certainly wasn't suggesting that some wild snake has been running around murdering people.
My favorite scene is when the bully news reporter Scoop stops by her house and dumps on how big of a loser Clark is. While Clark listens in, he hears how she keeps rejecting Scoop's advances for his affection and how story-hungry he is. After Scoop leaves, she sees Clark and doesn't reject him. Diane just accepts him for who he is, and that's rare for a movie to do that. In a normal case, it would be this big misunderstanding, but thankfully, they avoid that pitfall. I also dig the hell out of her son, who's just named Professor. He's just recording sounds and ambiences for some kind of project, and I was invested in where that was going to go. Even if it doesn't lead anywhere. Okay, kinda, sort of, but I can't really spoil it.
It's for a project I'm working on at school.
Here, I guess this one's yours.
Oh, no. Thanks anyways. I'm not allowed to eat chocolate.
See, you're still alive.
First off, the added subtitle is just ingenious. And second, I don't know if they got residuals for this movie, but hey, if it scrunches, it crunches!
Have you ever heard of an ultrasonic energy augmenter?
Ultrasonic energy augmenter. No, I don't believe I have.
If it works, it could be the answer to our whole energy problem.
As far as child acting goes, the kid here does surprisingly good. He kinda knows this isn't something to take too seriously or goofy and plays it straight. In fact, when it comes to child acting, I'm surprised to say Troma does a good job hiring kid actors that don't feel like they're phoning it in or trying it too hard.
We found the monster! He's at the Miller farm! Gotta kill him!
Holy cow! We can't let him die!
But what totally threw me off guard is who they got to play Professor. Oh no, I'm not kidding. This is one of Paul Walker's early roles. My jaw dropped to the floor when I found out about that after seeing the flick. And knowing he's not with us anymore, I seriously want to kick myself hard in the tailbone for not realizing we lost such a good actor. Yeah, not every movie he was in was perfect, but just seeing how here he was compared to future endeavors really makes me respect him more than I now did. And for a movie that has a late actor from the Fast and Furious franchise, let alone one of his first films, why is Monster in the Closet not talked about enough?
Now, if you capture that cockroach, why, you may end up with a scientific specimen.
No matter whether you squash it, dissect it, burn it, or eat it, it's still the same thing. You're violating God's sixth commandment.
Question answered. I like veteran B-movie performers. I really do. And these performers are doing their job fine. But there are two places where this movie drags just a hair, and that is in the humor and side characters. Monster in the Closet really channels and homages 1950s classics like The War of the Worlds, Earth vs. the Flying Saucers, and The Thing from Another World. Even to the point it lampoons character archetypes you would find in those kinds of movies. Half of it works for the most part. I do enjoy Frank Ashmore as Scoop, who is a hotshot journalist that sets up Clark. I like how it starts as a prank, but when things get serious, Scoop turns the tables and tries to steal the story. Literally.
But I can't leave. I'm right here in the middle of probably the biggest story I've ever...
Hey, Dick. It's all right. I'll cover for you. Look at this monster crap's gonna blow over in a day or two. The chief's got bigger things planned for you.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
I like how he constantly pokes in and tries to write everything down to the point he thinks it's an essential piece to report on.
Johnson, what would you like to know?
Well, first off, Dr. Pennyworth, what's the angle on trying to communicate with this thing?
It's one of God's creatures, my son.
Come to think of it, he does seem a little familiar.
Request vector, over. What?
Western and Twilight Zone veteran Claude Atkins plays one of my favorite characters as the tough-as-nails sheriff who tries to keep everything together, yet fails. I like how he carries this nonsense attitude like he's gonna be the one to save the day, and I even dig this running gag where he keeps spitting at random things. Sometimes when he fires chewing tobacco saliva, it did get unexpected laughs out of me.
Clever, Freddy, cover the side. Looks like we're gonna catch us a little monster here tonight. Okay, we know you're in there, so come on out.
Oh sure, like that worked the last time he tried to stop the monsters from destroying Maple Street.
What's the matter with you people? Now stop!
You know, for a movie that has pretty little on behind-the-scenes trivia, I'm actually having a ball digging into the cast and crew's past endeavors here. There's also Donald Moffat as the General, who does have some good moments, even if they're not as solid as Atkins.
Our reports of widespread panic. Boston, New York, Chicago, St. Paul, Duluth.
General, I think we've got it.
There's a pattern.
Definitely.
I knew it.
But I do like how in comparison to the sheriff, he's the pure opposite. While Atkins' character is trying to keep everything under control, this guy will fire at will upon an innocent school to stop the monster. He's certainly louder and does hold my interest enough. Yet something about him seems familiar here.
I know you gentlemen have been through a lot. But when you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this!
$4.25, moving out.
Nuts to you and nuts to your Texas.
Oh, for crying out loud. What is with this movie's connection with 1980s Popeye? If I can chance this just a little bit, are there any other alumni from that live-action clunker piece that I should be aware of?
Hi, hon.
Roy!
Oh my god, Paul Dooley!
I would gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Hon, I'm gonna run down the bread store. Do you need anything?
We can use a quart of milk.
Okay. I'll be back in about 15 minutes.
No! No, Wimpy, no! Get out! Get out of the movie now before the monster eats you! Filmmaking bastards, they killed my Wimpy. Filmmaking bastards, they killed my Wimpy! His death landed on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday. I hope that burger he gets up there will be well paid for him. I need some time to recover. You go ahead and watch this nostalgia break. We lost a good character actor, man. A good character actor!
Soggy takes me out to sog an innocent breakfast.
Is breakfast all right?
Just to remember to look out for Captain Crunch.
Yeah, his cereal's got crunch power to lock taste in, so we can't sog it out.
Well, I don't see him.
Oh, no. Will breakfast be sogged?
I'll save it with my Captain Crunch cereal.
Yikes!
Crunch power locks taste in, so it can't be sogged out. He got the point.
Captain Crunch is a crunchy part of this balanced breakfast.
Phooey.
Chocolate is scrumptious when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunch Milk Chocolate. That's creamy, blending, crispy, so dreamy. Gotta have it, it's so scrumptious. Love that chocolate when it crunches. Crunches. Chocolate is scrumptious when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunch.
Speaking for Burger King, I am proud to announce that we have just changed the Whopper.
Hey, you in a suit. You in a lot of trouble.
I know you're all behind us on this.
I like the Whopper the way it was, fool.
The new Whopper has more beef than ever. More beef than Big Mac or Wendy's single. And it beat them both for best taste.
More beef? Better taste?
The new Whopper. More beef than Big Mac or Wendy's single, and winner for best taste.
Okay, fool. It's good. I'll let you live.
What will the future bring from Nintendo? More hits like Super Mario Brothers. Sports hits like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Nintendo has the most video game hits. Hogan's Alley, The Legend of Zelda, and more like Metroid, Rad Racer. And you can play them only on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now you're playing with power.
I swear on my life, I'll never say anything bad about you again, man. If I ever review you, I'm gonna give you a positive review, okay? Okay, movie? Okay, just don't axe off any more people. Well, this film is fine and all. It I did have to nitpick. There are two spots where it doesn't quite work for me. And it involves two particular B-movie veteran actors who I enjoy fine, but they don't quite work as well here. Sam Spade radio actor Howard Duff doesn't get much laughs as Father Finnegan. He fills the void as the overly religious type that is trying to see the creature as a living being. Again, this is similar to a character from George Pal's War of the Worlds adaptation, who also questioned if the aliens were someone to seek any sign of goodwill from.
In the house of the Lord, forever.
I can see where his character would work, but so much time is devoted to Henry Gibson as a scientist named Dr. Pennyworth, who hopes to keep the beast alive and examine it.
Martin, I don't want to kill it. I simply want to communicate with it.
Well, they're hardly giving it a chance.
Hardly giving it a chance. My God, it's killed 5 people already.
In a way, Duff's character feels kind of redundant given Pennyworth seeks to have the creature be kept alive in order to understand it more. And I almost wonder how this movie would have played out if it was just Gibson's character alone, and not being partnered around with Howard Duff. And I can't explain this part without revealing the monster, so let's deliver what you're all here for. I frickin' love this thing. The unnecessary rows of teeth, the tiny beady eyes, the surreal shape itself. If it looks like a monster, screams like a monster, it fits the bill. Props to Kevin Brennan, who sculpted the creature, as his work expands from helping out on An American Werewolf in London, the gorilla effects in The Man with Two Brains, creature effects on Big Trouble in Little China, makeup work on Orgasmo, Thriller, and Night of the Demons. And no connection to 1980s Popeye? I'm ashamed of you. At least special makeup guy Ron Wild will later find himself doing episodes of Shelley Duvall's Fairy Tale Theater, the Thing from the Grave episode, for Tales from the Crypt, and some makeup work on an episode of Disney's Adventures in Wonderland. Yes, I watched that series too when I was a kid. I also like how even as the monster roars and makes sounds, the jaw never opens and closes.
You take one more step and I'm gonna shoot.
At first I thought Frank Welker did the vocals, but I was surprised to learn they were done by a guy named Tony Carlon, in his one and only role. I think the voice adds some comedy to it, almost like he has a personality similar to the Tasmanian Devil. It also shoots out a second head to kill its victims, kind of like the Xenomorph from Alien, but more cartoonish to the point it's funny. And the way it bursts through doors like tissue paper somehow tickles my funny bone. And I don't know if it's the guy in the suit that's overselling it, but he's doing a great job as the monster. Come to think of it, his body language is a tad familiar. And this movie immediately gets some well-deserved, high-powered brownie points. Holy crackers. The Kevin Peter Hall. The man behind the Predator alien, and Harry from Harry and the Hendersons. I can't sing the praise of this guy enough. It's a shame we lost an incredible talent so young. And it makes me more mad as to why no one talks about this movie.
The minute we spot this bastard, we're gonna send him to Kingdom Come.
You can save more lives by not pulling the trigger. Why, when I was a young boy, I once found a frog. Now, I could easily have taken that.
Excuse me, gentlemen, but...
And I think here's probably a good reason to examine why that is so. Monster in the Closet is both a throwback to the horror movies of the 1950s, but also a parody of them. Some of the cliches work, and some kind of don't. There's a bizarre running gag where Dr. Pennyworth tries to lure the creature by playing a set of notes that might get its attention. He gets the idea after hearing the subtle sound from an audio recording of the beast from Professor, and it leads to a dragged-out running gag where he plays the same 5 notes on a xylophone. when you can't get the musical rights to play those 5 tones from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, just play those 5 or 6 notes again and again and again until it's not funny anymore.
And a lot of the humor is kinda like that. Some jokes are either extend their welcome for far too long, but at least it'll end with a decent punchline. There's also a reference to the shower scene from Psycho, and while it's a tad predictable to see how they toy with the lead-up, it can get old pretty fast. It's not a bad scene, it just drags out way too much. I do appreciate how they play around with who is really going to get the axe, but it takes a while to get to a funny payoff. Like, how about this one where Pennyworth recounts his pet frog?
Martin, when I was a young boy, I found a little frog. I decided I would study it, so I cut it open and looked inside.
And it becomes a running thing about how he connects his pacifist method to the way they're trying to capture the creature.
But when I was a young boy, I once found a frog. Now, I could have taken that frog and ripped...
Frogs? What do I give a ding-dong about frogs?
If I were to match the level of awkwardness here to something else that involves a frog...
I had this pet frog. His name was Froggy. He was my best friend in the whole world. And I was riding him on my bike one day, and he jumped out of the box, and I ran him over with the back tire. And I just thought that maybe that might be relevant.
It would certainly be in the same ballpark as that scene. Now, that doesn't make the movie immediately bad or anything. But it's a testament to say that it's quite a slog to get through the bad stuff in order to get through what makes this actually entertaining and good.
It almost reminds me of one of my biggest guilty pleasures, John Landis' Schlock, which is also a parody homage to the Monster on the Loose, but with apes. It plays around a lot with the archetypes, and much like with Monster in the Closet, the humor swings a lot. Sometimes it slowly builds to a funny joke.
Excuse me, have you seen...
Or drags things at a snail's pace and goes nowhere.
This particular helmet was designed by Dr. Haywood Floyd Jerome of the Acne Research Group.
Why is it you're wearing it?
I have no idea.
A lot of it kind of reminded me of that and how it takes these familiar tropes and really plays around with them, both as a satire and an homage.
In fact, I'd probably argue that this and Schlock make for a perfect double feature. And if that's not enough, I will do the special honor of not ruining the ending for you. When nothing else works to destroy the creature, they boil it down to the most irrational and simplest of things that it surprisingly works. It is so funny, so stupid, so hilarious, you gotta see it. I can't. I can't. It's just, it's so dumb but genius at the same time. When all else fails, it goes down to the simplest and childish of ways that easily eradicates the monster. Instead of the adults using modern-day tech to get rid of the monster, it's a simple, childish thing that we connect with it so well. It's kind of clever and does lead to one hell of a funny ending. It's worth it for the movie alone. I'll do the honor of not spoiling it, because it makes the movie worth seeing it for.
The only element outside of humor that I can think of as to why this movie is not fondly remembered is that it doesn't carry some of the deeper things that Troma is known for, like gore or politically incorrect humor. I did hear a rumor that this movie was made before Toxic Avenger and sat on the shelf until 1986, and if that was the case, it does explain why it comes off as harmless. Was the intention to make a monster movie parody in the style of Airplane? And given this is one of the few Troma movies with a PG rating, did they want to make a movie that was okay for family audiences? Even if you look past the brief side boob and minor swearing, it does feel like it's an attempt at trying to make something for younger viewers. Given researching the production history on this one was difficult, we'll never know. At the end of the day, I kind of feel bad Monster in the Closet doesn't have the same recognition as Toxic Avenger or Class of Nukem High. It's actually not that bad. The characters are enjoyable, the monster effects are cool, and when the humor works, it feels akin to a Zucker Brothers Airplane-style comedy where everyone plays it so straight that you almost wonder how they can take things so seriously.
For now, I recommend it as an entertaining venue to get people into the idea of what Troma entertainment is. But I would say it's best to follow up this movie with the Toxic Avenger to get a better idea of what kinds of films they do. Ones that are highly in-jokey, highly gory, and absolutely 100% politically incorrect, but with a flair. But then again, this film alone makes a great transition piece before you get to the really gory stuff.
But is it better to describe Troma's films as this kind of thing? Come on, you know you want to.
I said it once in my Sleepy Hollow review, and I'll say it again. There's no way you're gonna make...
French?
If you're over there, then who...
Uh-oh. I thought we were through with storylines. Just say the word already. It's not that hard. Pass me. What are you doing here? I set up a Pee Wee Herman-style prank, and the fox won't even fall for it. Believe me, you might want to give it a rest. He's a little too smart for this. Never. I will not rest until this tiny adjective releases from his lips. Like a game in tennis, your ball, your serve. And as for you, yeah, you with the wide golf ball eyes, you don't want to mess with the past. For I am the ham and cheese in between the sheets at a Motel 69. 69. But this shall not succumb. If you think this show's done with storylines, oh no, this will go on. It will continue. And until this word escapes from those tight shut lips of Alcoa aluminum steel, I'm gonna be waiting here, making your life a living hell, past, present, or future. I see you, Fox Boy. Even if it's totally cramped in here, I still can.
Never would I imagine the day I would have an evil bobcat in my closet. Do you have anything to say for this?
I'm not really thinking, I'm just kinda munching. I'm crazy and loony, man. I'm the true monster in the closet. Woo!
Just go to the credits.
I'm the boogeyman, I'm the boogeyman. Turn me on. I'm the boogeyman, I'm the boogeyman. I do what you want. I'm the boogeyman, I'm the boogeyman. Turn me on. I'm the boogeyman, I'm the boogeyman. I do what you want. I'm your boogeyman. That's what I am. I'm here to do whatever I can. Be an early morning, late afternoon. Or at midnight, all it's down to
justice, one man was chosen to protect the innocent and to make the wrong things right.
It's not a good day to be a bad guy.
The film the critics are calling dazzling and fiercely hypnotic.
Bye-bye, Birdie.
Brandon Lee is sensational. A triumph. Brandon Lee.
I love you.
The Crow. Rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
Cut.